Hey there, welcome to Cowork Mondays. My name is Scott Monday, and this is part 5 of my 6-part series on rolling out Claude Cowork in your organization and in your personal life. We've done some really cool things together the last 4 weeks. We've set up Claude Cowork, we've created context, we've connected Claude Cowork to all of our platforms, and we created a daily brief in week 4. So this is week 5, and what we're going to be doing is using Claude Cowork to slay a task that we hate, right? And we're going to do that in 2 ways. Number 1, we're going to figure out which tasks we should attack first. And then I'm going to show you how to build a skill in Claude Cowork, which in essence is simply a multi-step process that Claude Cowork will memorize and then roll out for you when prompted. So once again, this is week 5 of Cowork Mondays, where we're going to be identifying and building out a skill to slay a workflow that you don't enjoy. So let's dive in. All right, now the first part of what we're attacking in week 5 is identifying workflows that we can work with Cowork to automate. And so if you're in the week 5 newsletter, you'll see that in step 2, I've developed a prompt for you. And what I'll do is I'll copy and paste that into Cowork so you can see how it works. So I'm just copying and pasting the prompt. And what I want to do is a couple things. So let me just read this prompt and walk through it with you. So it says, I want to map out a workflow I do regularly so we can rebuild it together. Interview me one question at a time. Don't bundle questions. Cover these areas. What tasks we're mapping, name and trigger, the inputs I start with, the steps I currently take in order with rough time estimates, the decisions I make along the way that need my judgment, the final output, and where it goes. After the interview, output a clean workflow map titled task name current processes with sections for triggers, inputs, steps, decision points, and outputs. Save it as a markdown file in my Cowork folder. Ask me question 1 now. All right, so that's the prompt. What you'll want to do is you'll want to click your folder button here. When you open this up, you probably will not have a folder already loaded. I do because I've been working in Claude already today. So I'm going to choose a folder, and I'm simply going to go to my Claude folder that I created back in week 1 or 2. And I'm going to make a new folder here. We'll just call it something like Slay the Tasks. All right, you can call it whatever you want. You'll want to create that folder, click it, and then hit Select Folder. Now, any output from this prompt is now going to be saved to that folder you just created. So you can go in and view the whole markdown file in any type of text viewing platform. And so I'll hit this button here, and you'll see that Cowork will now initiate an interview process with me. And what you'll do is you'll simply answer the questions one step at a time until you get to the end of the process. It's very simple. All right, so by the time you get to the end of this interview, you will have a workflow identified. And the next prompt I want you to use is step 3. So I'll copy and paste it here. So it's going to basically take the workflow that you just mapped with Claude Cowork, which once again, workflow sounds like a complicated word. It simply means a process that you go through that you want to automate. Tell me which steps you can do, which need my judgment, and how we'd run this together. Read the response, then push back. Now propose a redesigned workflow where you handle as much as possible and I make decisions on the things only I can decide. What this prompt is doing is utilizing a really cool feature of modern day AI, which is instead of you telling the AI how you think it should do something, we're now working with the AI for it to tell us how it best works. In essence, it's the combination of you, the human, and the AI to create the workflow in a way that it can do it quickly while still doubling down on the human elements that you bring to the equation. Now, after you and Claude Cowork determine the best way to approach the workflow, the last prompt that you're going to install is this one. Now, take this refined workflow and turn it into a Cowork skill called, and then you can fill in the name of the skill. Build it so that when I say, and then you're going to fill in a trigger, you will run it automatically. Okay, so that's the 3 parts. You're basically identifying the workflow, You're working with Claude to figure out how you and Claude can best work together on the workflow. And then you're turning that final workflow that you and Claude came up with into a skill. So that brings us to this question of skills. And so I want to show you where the skills live. So if you open your sidebar with this button at the top, you can open and close your sidebar. If you open your sidebar and go down to Customize, you will see your skills right here at the top above connectors. Last week we worked in connectors, which are things like email and Fireflies and Descript and Canva, all those types of cool things. This week we're going to work in skills. Now you can see that I've already built out some skills over the last number of months. And this is really where your skills live. We'll kind of call it a skills library. Each one of these skills is a different workflow that I've developed that help me automate tasks. Now, this may look intimidating because if you click on one of these, you'll see there's various subfolders, there's markdown files, there's elaborate instructions right here, but take heart because all of these were built simply using the chat interface. Now, if you click plus up here, you can add a skill, and you can either look for a skill that may already exist and then modify one from there, or you can create a new one. There's lots of ways to create new skills. You can literally chat with Claude to create a new skill. You can write skill instructions that then Claude will turn into an automated workflow, or you can actually upload a skill that someone else shares with you. So those are three different ways, but I really love the Create with Claude interface where you create a skill by simply chatting with Claude. What I want to do is I want to show you how to create a skill and how you iterate with Claude Cowork. Now, I could go back to that original thread you and I were in right here where we developed the workflow. And if you do that and you enter this third prompt, you can then start building the skill right there. But since I didn't follow this full process right in front of you, this really would be a fruitless effort. So what I want to do is I want to show you how to create a skill instead of creating it right here in the dialog box. I'm going to go up to Customize, Skill. I hit the little plus sign here. Create a skill and create a skill with Claude. Now you'll see it's really cool. It just opens up a brand new dialog for you. Now, within the last few days, Anthropic has released a new model for Claude called Fable 5. It is a very powerful model, but quite frankly, my analysis at the moment is it's a bit overkill for generating a skill. So I'm going to go ahead and dial this back to either Sonnet 4.6 or Opus 4.8. Sonnet will probably do just fine, but just to be sure, I'm going to click Opus. You may ask yourself, why would I even care about which one I choose? Each one of these models uses up a different amount of your Claude tokens, in essence, your usage that you pay for. So the lower the model, the less of your tokens it will use, and the cheaper your session will be. Really, the worst that would happen is if you click a model that is overkill, you'll burn through your tokens and have to wait till it resets, which I think it resets every 4 hours or so. Or, of course, you can just add a few more dollars to your Claude account. And all of that, by the way, is over here in Settings and then Usage. It tracks all of your usage. So you can see right now my session resets in 1 hour, 51 minutes, and I've only used 29% of my allocation. I'm on the max plan. If you're on the higher level plan, of course, those numbers would be different. All right. So it's kind of cool. It already says, let's create a skill together using Skill Creator Skill, which is a skill that creates skills. And that comes baked in with Cowork, the Skill Creator Skill. Okay, first ask me what the skill should do. All right, so I'll do that. I'll hit this and it will now ask me what the skill should do. So it's reading right now its skill creator file, so it knows how to approach this session with you. All right, so it asked me what the skill should do. Now, what I want to train Claude to do is something that's very annoying within one of my companies, and that is the creation of these spec sheets that go into all of our project proposal folders. So I want to open up a spec sheet and show it to you. All right, so this is a sample spec sheet. So it has a logo at the top. It has a title right here in the middle. It has a picture of the fixture installed. Page 2 has the logo, a description of the fixture, features, and then page 3 and 4 is the manufacturer's spec sheet a PDF document. And this is a perfect task to train Cowork to do because it involves having to do online research to find the picture. It involves research online to find the description and features of the product. It requires Cowork to download a PDF from online for the specific product. And then it requires Cowork to combine all of these into a multi-page PDF. Those are all steps that Cowork can do. They're all steps that a human can do slowly, but this is a great example of a multi-step process that Cowork was built for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Cowork and I'm going to tell it, I want you to help me create a skill that causes you to create product spec sheets for products that my company sells. I'm going to start by giving you an existing example of a spec sheet, and you're going to learn from it, and then I'm going to tell you how to build each part of it. All right, then I'm going to hit the plus. I'm going to upload that existing spec sheet that I was just showing you. All right, so I uploaded the existing PDF that I'm using as an example, and then I'm going to click my up arrow, and we'll see that now Cowork is analyzing the document and what I wrote, and it's going to be asking me questions about it here shortly. All right, so here's the Cowork analysis of what I gave it. It says it has 4 pages, 2 parts. One is a crate branded set of pages with a cover, a logo, product name. Page 2 is description and features, and pages 3 to 4 are the original Kohler spec sheets. It did note that I already have a process that's similar to this, and I'm going to tell it. I'm building out this skill as an example, so disregard any existing skills or processes. All right, so I'm just telling it to basically not be polluted by what I've done before. All right, so it asked if it structured it. I'm going to say yes. Now I want to walk you through how you're going to build it. All right, so I'm going to make this window here smaller, and then I'm going to pull up the PDF over here on this side so I can walk through it. So I'm just using WhisperFlow to help narrate it. All right, so I'm going to give you our company logo that you'll use at the top of page 1 and 2. And then I want you to create roughly a 1/2 inch space. And then I want you to install the title of the fixture. And then I want you to install a picture of the product. Try to find a picture of the product with it installed, not just the product itself. And then on page 2, I want you to use the same logo and then pull the description and the features from your online research, and always prioritize using the manufacturer's website as your primary source of information if available. And then pages 3 and 4, I want you to once again use the manufacturer's website to download the PDF that shows the product specifications and dimensions and measurements and things like that. All right, so you can see all I did was I looked at my sample and I explained to Cowork how to approach the process. Now, if I've never built a spec sheet before and I'm doing it for the first time, I could absolutely ask Cowork to walk me through how it thinks it should build a spec sheet. But since I'm matching an existing workflow that humans have been doing in the past, I might as well start with that and see what Claude says. So Cowork came back and basically reiterated that it understands what I'm trying to do here, and it asked me for the logo. So I'm going to upload that. Now I gave it a .ai version of our logo, which is a format used by graphic designers, but I could have given it a PNG logo or a JPEG logo. Any of those would be fine. So I'm just going to say, here's the logo in .ai format. All right, you can see that it took the .ai logo and it turned it into a high-res PNG automatically. So it's doing all of this on the back end. I'm not having to be involved whatsoever as it's thinking through how to navigate this conversion of the image from a .ai to a PNG that it can use in the creation of this spec sheet. So Claude's telling me it is good to go, and I don't really have anything else to tell it, so we're going to let it run. Proceed with drafting the skill. Now this is really cool because bear in mind, I've done nothing thus far other than chat with Claude, give it a few files like a PDF template and an image file of our logo. I've done nothing else. And now Claude Cowork is taking that and turning it into a skill that can be repeated. Now you'll see that it pulls our brand colors, and you may be saying, Scott, how does it know this? When I set up my context files for Claude Cowork, I went ahead and uploaded the brand specifications for my companies. So it knows that Kitchen and Bath Crate uses a specific green and a specific orange. And that really comes back to the context we built in previous weeks. And this is why feeding any AI, chat, Gemini, Cowork, feeding it context about you and your businesses and things like that can be really powerful, because it just saves time every time that specific context question pops up. So about a minute or two later, Cowork tells me the skill is drafted, and now it is testing it using my original product, the Kohler Riverbee. And it's going to run through this process on the back end to see how successful it was in creating its own skill. You can see it's pulled different usable images from the internet, including the image from the Kohler website itself up here, but it did also look at Lowe's, for example. So that's, once again, automatically what Claude Cowork is doing using its interface connection with the internet. So this is a great example of how Claude Cowork thinks. So during its test, it realized that it grabbed the wrong image. It grabbed a logo for Kohler and not the sink itself. And so it self-assessed the quality of its own image selection, decided that it did not do a good job, and decided to fix it. All right, so here we go. It did a pretty good job. You can see the logos in there, sharp and crisp. Looks like good spacing. Then the title, I like that. I don't like how small the image is here, so we can fix that here in the chat. Thought they did a nice job here as well with the image description and features, and then the spec sheet. They absolutely nailed it. So we are looking really good here, but there are some tweaks I want to make, and there's a great opportunity to show you how to do this right in the chat. All right, so I think you did a good job. I think you can reduce the size of the logo on page 1 and 2 by about 10%. You can make the gap between the logo and the title a little bit smaller by maybe 20%. And then I want you to maximize the size of the image on page 1. Let's go ahead and go with margins top, bottom, left, and right of 0.75 inches and see if that makes things better. Okay, so in essence, I gave Cowork feedback on its result. Now we have not locked in the skill yet. We are still in the process of defining the skill and building the skill. And once again, I'm just dialoguing with Cowork to do that. And now it's going to apply those changes I requested and render a revised PDF for me to review before we lock in the skill. Okay, so here is Cowork's second attempt to create the file. You can see that the image is much larger. I really like that. Looks good here on the second page. The PDF still is correct. Yeah, I really like the way this is looking. I think we can lock in the skill. Once again, if I had any edits I wanted to make, I could go on indefinitely in this chat with tweaking this output until it is exactly what I want. But I think we're good. It says if the layout is locked in, I'll package the skill into an installable file. Let's do it. All right, so there we go. It built the skill for me. It's calling it Crate Spec Sheet, which is wonderful. And literally all I have to do to save this skill is click Save Skill. And now when I go back to my skills over here, you will see it is right here, ready to go. So just take a moment and realize what you just did. You chatted with an AI to create a workflow. You then worked with AI via chat to edit the workflow. And then you clicked one button and turned it into a skill that you never have to remember how to do again. That is fantastic. This skill can be shared with your team. Super easy to do that. We can show you that in a different video down the road. But now what I'd like to do is I'd like to test this skill. So I'm going to find a product that we do not yet have a spec sheet for. I'm going to be using this Kohler product here, the Kohler Farmstead sink. And then we're going to test this process. I'm going to just copy the name and the model number from the Kohler website. I'm going to go back to Cowork. I'm going to get out of the Customize page. I'm going to go to Cowork up here on the top left, new task. Now it's really cool because I can just say using, and then if I hit the slash button, it will pull up all of my skills. So I'll pick the skill that we just created right here. Boom. Generate a project data sheet for this particular plumbing fixture. And I'm going to copy and paste, hit my up arrow, and let's see how it does. Now we're about 15 seconds into this task, and you can see it's really neat the way Cowork shares with you its process. It walks you through its logic that it's using to build out this spec sheet. Fun to watch. You can see the websites that it's going to do its research. It found the Kohler website that I would have, as a human, first gone to and used as my source of information. Telling you it's fetching the product page. It's walking you through more web pages it's using. And I'm going to let it run here for a while, and I'll come back and tell you how long it takes. Another thing real quick to point out, just like in all Claude Cowork sessions, you can monitor the progress of the individual task up here on the top right in the progress bar. If you don't see it, you just hit this little arrow. But you can see it's done its research. That's checked off with a blue check. And now it is downloading the photos in the spec PDF. And then it will move on to building the spec sheet. So it's cool to watch. You can leave Claude at this moment, go work on other things. Some of my tasks take anywhere from a few minutes to 30 to 45 minutes to run. And the nice thing is you can be utilizing other applications on your computer that entire time, and Claude Cowork will be working in the background. Okay, so here's what it produced. And it was a pretty good first attempt at using this skill. But there are some edits I want to make, and I'm going to show you how it's not just a set it and forget it when it comes to skills, if they're not working, that is. It certainly is if they're working, but I'm going to give it some feedback here. All right, you did a pretty good job, but I want you to redo it, and then I want you to remember these edits for future applications of this skill. So I'm going to tell you what's wrong with it, then you're going to update the skill accordingly. So first of all, the image you chose is not the one I would want you to choose. I want a picture of the fixture actually installed, ideally without a human in the picture. So see if you can find that and let that be your guiding strategy for image selection going forward. And then I don't think you grabbed the correct PDF from Kohler for the final 3 pages, because I should be seeing dimensions and things like that from the spec sheet. So go back and figure out if you grab the actual proper PDF specification page from the website. All right, so I just gave Cowork feedback on what it produced, and we're going to see if it solves its own problems in this regard. We are back, and God bless Cowork. It really had to do its work here to dial in its new skills. So let me tell you what it did. It went through a very extensive process here of trying to figure out where the best spot to source these images is, and also how to update its skill accordingly. So here's the revised spec sheet it produced, and it really nailed it. This is a perfect photo in terms of how I defined it. There's not people in it. It's an installed perspective, which is what I love. This information didn't change, which is fine. And here's the interesting thing. I thought that this was the wrong spec sheet, so I went to the website, and this is actually Kohler's most up-to-date spec sheet for this particular sink. Typically, they have a page of dimensions, and this one does not. I scoured the internet for it, and basically Cowork said, this is the one, this is the best they have, and I verified that in person. So Cowork did a great job here. I can't imagine how many questions I would have gotten from someone I was trying to train to do this that Cowork figured out on its own. I literally did not have to instruct it in any way other than what you saw in terms of giving it feedback on the image selection. So really cool. It went ahead and updated the skill as well, and I'll show you what it does. When it updates a skill, it creates a new markdown file right here. In essence, this is the instructions for the skill that have been updated based on its most recent edits that it made based on my feedback. You can see it's a whole bunch of code, a whole bunch of different information right here. Super easy to update your skill. You simply click this little copy button here, boom, and then you go to Customize, Skill. You go to the skill that you're trying to update, and you click Edit with Claude here, and then you say, here is a new skill markdown file. Go ahead and install it. And then I hit Shift and Enter. I paste it right there. So that's the whole revised markdown file right here. And then Claude is going to update the skill for me. All right, just to show you that it does in fact work, it took maybe 3 or 4 minutes to rewrite the skill based on the feedback I gave it. I'm going to click Save Skill, Upload and Replace, and your skill is now updated to match your most recent feedback. So there you go. That's week 5 of Cowork Mondays. It's really cool because we went through a process of identifying what workflows that we can work with Cowork to automate. And then we actually created a skill, tested a skill, and updated a skill. This is an amazing tool that you and your team can use to no longer have to do the things that AI is good at. So you as the humans can do the things that humans are good at. I'm Scott Monday. This is Cowork Mondays, and join me next week for our final week where we talk about how to transfer Cowork concepts to the rest of your team to really help scale and maximize the velocity that your company adopts AI. Hope you found this video super helpful. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day.